Heretics, they've still got some stuff which can make it happen. So, I don't know. It's close, but we'll have to see if Barcelona can execute on it as we are jumping onto the Rift for the second game of the series.
Okay, we're going to play a little game right now. Can I get a willing participant, either of you two?
I'll take it. Let's go.
Okay, good. Now, I'm going to pick a role, and you tell me just with one word what it does, and I'm going to tell you if you're right or wrong. We'll go jungle first.
You want me to just say what it does in one word?
Yep.
Control.
No, it was damage. Top lane.
Stall.
No, also damage. Mid lane.
I already got the game, but I still want to figure out like what does mid lane do. I mean, mid lane does deal damage. That's fine, damage.
Okay, we get the trend. My point being is that Heretics have got carries in every single role that they should.
Do. Even the Nautilus. The Nautilus is such a big damage dealer.
Hold on, I didn't realise that we subbed out Rudu for Jigsaw on the cast. Do you want to play a game?
Well, I'm guessing everyone is going to be building Trinity Force this game, because that's tons of damage. In any case, Heretics do have those options. They will be looking towards facilitating literally anybody. But starting with this bot side, and a point that I touched upon during Champion Select is, okay, the Ezreal and the Karma can be played towards as a strong side. That is part of the reason why Hades is actually pathing towards this bot side, because the Ezreal and the Karma can be very, very oppressive, but they need to be careful not to get hit by the Nautilus hooks, because there's still a lot of damage to be dealt on the other side. In any case, it's still a Varus. He doesn't care whether he's under turret or not. He's still gonna CS. He's still gonna trade no matter what. And even if he goes low, and even if he can't really be oppressive, he's still gonna be a force of nature later on.
Jack Spectra sort of getting the deadly treatment from the previous game with how aggressive the Ezreal Karma is being in the early
stages. I don't think anyone can get the deadly treatment from last game. Middle court, Deadly didn't have CS for the first 6 minutes of the game. This is a lower level.
Yeah, maybe not as bad, but hey, it's the Deadly we got at home. I don't know how this works. I kind of want to talk about this Ryze in the mid lane though, because it's not a champion that we see all that often, but it has come out in the past as an answer into the Azir.
Yeah, it's a champion that can match its damage or die. That's not what Ryze wants to do.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Let me break down what happened there. Either Zviru ran out of mana and miscalculated how much he had, or he didn't press his buttons and messed his combo up. That was a dive that could happen if he had the mana, but 2 hours, very well played, capitalizes on it, dashes forward, gets the shield from the E, that is a little bit of the kit that people tend to forget about. If you hit a champion, you get an E, and then flashes away so that any skill shot damage that comes afterwards is also gonna miss. Zviru misexecutes, but 2 hours capitalizes.
Yeah, first of all, the Ryze shouldn't ever be in a position where he gets kill pressure over the Azir this early, but yes, I agree completely that 2 hours actually play that well enough to not let the Ryze go ahead and do his thing. In any case, that's not what the Ryze is supposed to do here. He matches the wave clear from Azir very early on without much difficulty, aside from mana problems, potentially, as Ephias goes a little bit too far, but again, it's just a short trade. No one can actually kill anybody until the junglers get in. But
junglers turning up.
Surely, right?
Hopefully not. I think Blue Resort just here to ensure that Jack Spectra and Whiting can get this wave shoved under tower, and we're not going to be in a situation where this Varus is frozen on. But with Hades here as well, the lane state is looking a hell of a lot better for Barca.
If we want to freeze, we're going to freeze. We will bring our jungler down. You can't cheat by bringing yours. We'll have one as well. Looking at those junglers, though, for example, Blue Resort has actually completed a double crab and is going to be a little bit ahead of the Wukong when he gets that recall off. Is a little bit behind on time right now, but sacrifices that for having a better combat power when he gets back out onto the map. Double longsword for Hades, and I imagine Blue Resort get a sheen and maybe a little bit extra as well.
And the Viego, of course, can be a very, very powerful skirmisher, but again, he doesn't have the biggest facilitators in his lane. Besides this bot side, the Ryze, again, it's a champion that just wants to contest waves until he can actually keep up with the mana costs, because at this point, he shoves like 3-4 waves and he's forced to go back until he has the first item, until he also gets that Seraph's Embrace eventually. So for now, his role is to keep the Azir in lane and try to eventually at level 6 look for short shifts into the top side, into the bot lane, try to force dives ASAP. But I mean, Heretics are just doing that on their own.
Yeah, Ignite dropped down onto a fire. So the camera is incredibly low! Even lower as Jack Spectre flashes forward for the kill and is breaking that freeze. Level 6 hitting the top lane for Ibo, diving forward onto Dreedy, who's forced to burn the flash to get away.
And the nature of these side lanes right now really coming to exploit themselves. Ibo, with this scaling pickup on the top side, is now actually punishing very early. Blue Resort's on his way. Can Dreedy clear the wave in time?
Looks like he's just about done it. Level 6 hit there for the Ornn. That means that the dive is a bit ill-advised.
Yeah, and in this bot side, I'm not sure what Barca were trying to do, though.
This whole bot lane just hinges on playing at range. The second you get hooked, the bot lane becomes so much more difficult. You see right there that Jack Spectre is able to follow up on the damage that Whiten puts down, and when there's not been a lane that we've seen the Heretics bot side in, they aren't getting punished by the Ezreal Karma, and they can force these all-ins instantly.
And I just feel like Ephius wasn't really paying attention to the timings from Whiten and Jack Spectre. He probably thought the Nautilus was still very far away from the river and that he could push for vision. But the moment that you see the Nautilus, you just need to stay away because the all-in potential is still so big and the Varus is still so damaging at this point in the game, and he'll still be damaging throughout the entire game, but in this particular situation, you still need to be careful with what he can bring out when the all-ins are forced. Barca weren't careful, and now Heretics basically have all lanes in states where they're really happy with being in.
And I like what we've been seeing from Ephias and Whited. Obviously, apart from that little bit of a mishap in the bot lane for Ephias, they've been getting out on map a hell of a lot, because the thing about the Varus and the Ezreal is when they are in isolated 1v1s, there's not a lot of kill pressure there. So you are freed up to start roaming on this Nautilus, to start roaming on this Karma and try and protect your other lanes.
And for me, when we see these supports get out onto the map is actually the most important part of these roams. For example, the first game where that Rift Herald went the way of Barca, it was off the back of an entire bot lane roam as opposed to just those supports. So it is that timer from Whiten, from Ephius, that tends to be very crucial. So far, we haven't seen too much impact in those specifically. But it looks like that Zviru looking postures with his team. They're trying to force 2 hours away from this, and they do so successfully. With a 4-man collapse, this is again at that window where the Rift Herald has spawned. They forced priority in mid lane. Now they could go back to that Rift Herald, but it looks like that's not their choice, and they don't want to sacrifice too much of the Varus.
Yeah, I mean, at least Jack Spectre should go back in this situation because Barca aren't trying to force the AD carry rotation either, but I think Whiten could have stayed and kept that mid priority because very quickly the Azir, as soon as the wave is reset, can just shove it into the Rise as well, especially when the Karma's around, especially when the Wukong is also shadowing that mid lane. So the moment that Barca get the tempo back in this mid lane, they can get control over the top side and start hitting the Rift Herald. So I do think that this objective control from Heretics is still a bit iffy when it shouldn't be, and Barca can take advantage of that.
Potential lockdown onto Tuos, but can, again, dash away on the Azir. That's why this champion has become so highly prioritized. He can get a lot of shove in the early game, but he's also got that safety and scales into a late game beast. Dreedy calling the Forge God, but a good ultimate from Blue Resort, and a better one from Hades as he knocks up 2 and goes forward, and Cyclones all over again. The Ignite on his back means a 1-for-1 gets traded over.
And this is worth, I believe, for Heretics. They get the kill on the mid laner versus the kill on the top laner. It's not both junglers falling, so we do have Heretics now with a slight opportunity to make some plays around objectives. They're not going to opt into it. And again, I'm going to value a kill on a Rise over a kill on an All. I'm going to say it. The issue for Barca is that that kill is A, in the wrong place, and that Ivo got a lot of free time.
Exactly, like Heretics, again, didn't fully commit to the first Herald fight. They were on a 2v3 situation, and of course, the Ornn can help very, very quickly from that top side, regardless of having the wave in a good state or not, and Hades gets a lot of value playing around the choke point with his Cyclone. But the main takeaway is, yes, the jungler lives, even though they can't really do anything in terms of objectives, but they end up doing a great thing regardless.
And you call that a 3v2. Tuaz really didn't get into that fight, so it did end up just being that 2v2 between the top lane jungle and the mid jungle from Heretics, and you got a little bit more damage on the Rise, so Hades going a little bit too far forward, which is something we've seen from him so far in this Iberian Cup.
We're reaching a juncture now in this early game where our teams are happy with their happy to start scaling, right? A lot of these champions are very good scalers. Rise has hit his tier lost chapter. Azir lost chapter as well. Herald goes over to Heretics. They're not going to force a fight because top lane, they're already brawling. No Cyclone.
Yeah, no ult for Ibo either, but now Hades has ended up in, well, a bad situation, let's say. We'll be able to Warrior Tricks. They're actually down there, but Blue Resort with a Harrowed Path can chase him down to us. Not moving from the mid lane to help out his jungler. The Spectral Maw goes wide, and now the play is a little bit less likely to turn out well for Heretics, but Whiten still absolutely wants to go for it, calculates the damage perfectly, and removes the enemy jungler from the map.
Oh, they want more, but I don't think Ibo can reach for more without that fate sealed. But in any case, I warned you about it. The Nautilus is still a carry. He deals so much burst damage with his full combo. He ends up reaching in between the minion wave to actually finish that kill. And Heretics just get everything they came for on this top side. And the most important part of this is that Ibo isn't losing anything around the top side, because in this case, he actually got his mid laner to catch the wave for him, and yes, he didn't manage to catch Hades trying to get away, but it was still a very good kill. The Yone is still getting very far ahead, and he is the main catalyst in terms of team fights, especially as we start finishing up this early game.
So 2 hours could have saved his jungler there, but it's one of those situations where you just don't expect the damage. If that Empress Divide goes up early, then White flash hooks a wall, and it looks very underwhelming. But it is not the case. The Azir is a little bit too late to the play, and it does give over a kill. Granted, only onto your support, but once again, it's the time on the map that's so profitable.
All of the Forge God coming down onto Zviru. No flash, no Realm Warp available for the Rise, and with 2 ults invested by Barcelona, a fairly easy kill.
You remember earlier on when I said that these 2 champions are very good for the Rise? This is the circumstance where they're not. When they're in a 2v1 situation and all of the CC is piled onto the Rise itself, this is how they're going to have to outplay it a little bit later. Now, Dreedy is overstepped, and with no call, the Forge God could find an angle.
Ivo doesn't have the Fate Seal, though, so just a fair chunk onto the Ornn, who really not having fun in the side lane.
Blue Resort, it does manage to get the first dragon while everything is happening, and yes, of course, the Rise does not want to be in a situation where he gets 1v2'd, where he gets changed CC'd, but if we get to the late game team fights and everyone is playing 5v5 and he ends up absorbing all of the CC, look at the rest of his team. Everyone is going to have so much damage to compensate for that, with 2 Blades of the Ruined King between the Viego and the Yone, with obviously this Varus completely dishing out the damage with a Ginsu's Rage Blade as well eventually. It just seems very impractical for Barca to always have the CC where they need it to be.
Deadly now being played onto by White in Blue. Resort is a fair way away, so just a chunk onto the Ezreal, interrupting his back and giving a little bit more time for Heretics to beat up on this bot lane tower. Herald going to be summoned. This is first break.
Jack Spectre and getting gold, getting funneled in some resources here. This is exactly the win condition that led them to game 1. Game number 2 has been a lot slower and a lot less dramatic, but it's the same ideology. Giving the Varus this time gold is going to set them up for success.
Yeah, definitely. And having him also unlocked from this bot side is also very, very important at this point in the game, where he can actually start playing towards mid, acquiring that priority, letting the Rise alongside Aeon split push, because Barca don't really have good answers for that. And they're forced into a playstyle that just can't be executed at this point in time. Whereas, of course, Heretics have a lot more options at this point. It just feels like the Varus having resources is perfect for a team of Heretics that are just completely dominating from top to bot, even though the kill count is, well, pretty low.
Both supports have roamed up to this top side, but Hades is that difference maker right now. Yes, Whiting's here to try and cover or potentially look for an angle.
Ibo being engaged on the Fate Seal. The flashback still in the path of the Ornn ultimate, but Whiting with that hook keeps his top laner alive and will sacrifice himself for the cause.
That was a noble sacrifice from our brother Whiting right there. He just knows that Ibo is completely doomed if he does not hook the front runner there, but now Heretics are a man down, and they want to take a semblance of control in that top side, but it doesn't matter. And even though they don't change the lane assignments, they don't put the Varus in the mid lane, it doesn't matter, because no one from the side of Barca was actually expecting that. So they don't have anyone to deal with the Varus in the side lane, because the Ezreal isn't really the kind of champion, and the turret just goes down.
Yeah, and in the span of a minute and a half, Jack Spectra has got 600 gold from that first tower being destroyed by the Rift Herald, and an additional 600 gold from that inner tower being taken down. He's not on the Draven this time, who can cheat with the extra gold, but he's still getting massively accelerated ahead of Deadly.
And it's those little intangibles that we can't see on the scoreboard between the two AD carries that are so important. Yes, there's a 5 CS difference and 1 kill the disparity. Why is there a complete item over the Varus? And it's exactly what you've just mentioned, Middlecott. All of that gold funneled into Jack Spectra has hit this 2-item spike, where a Crit Strike AD carry, for example, spikes on 3. Varus is now very, very strong on 2. And if they're looking to take any sort of fights, so long as Jack Spectra's there, they're going to win them.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how far in the game we are, as long as these 2 items are present, the Varus is always going to be a threat, and we can't say the same for the Ezreal, who goes for the Trinity Force, and he doesn't really have many chances to dish out his auto attack, so he could be hindering his DPS.
Well, I mean, Whiting's just dead there. Overstep there from the Heretics supporters. Vyro able to get away with the Realm Ward. That's 2 kills actually coming through for Barca. Jack Spectra now being jumped into by Hades. Had the shield by, flashes back over the wall. Gets a couple more autos onto the Monkey. But the piercing arrow doesn't take him down. That's good from Barca firing back.
Yeah, I do think that Jack may have been able to get that, but would have had to flash her out afterwards anyway. So the fact that Hades stays alive, potentially a saving grace, they're going to secure themselves second Herald, provided they can leash it correctly. And that's a big comeback for them. Right, we mentioned that these early to mid-game stages are the points where Heretics can be exploited, and just catching the slight overstep is really nice for Barca. Whiting dashes forward and finds nothing, quite rightly gets punished. The flash from 2 hours is a big commitment, but it's one that nets them the kill. And now bot side in the picture-in-picture, they're looking for a play.
Yeah, there is very little that you can do on and on if you are in this situation. Dreedy gets hit in the back with a couple of spell flux, but just tanky enough to get out.
There's one thing that you could do, Middlecott, and it's walk, and you do that very well.
Orin is a master of walking. But 2 hours might not be, as he's in a little bit of trouble. In any case, yeah, Heretics shouldn't have been trying to force in that way. It feels like they're playing the map very well, but they still feel tempted to contest objectives they did not have the prior setup for, and that's when they end up probably slipping a lot of times in that early to mid-game transition, where they try to contest objectives while setting up for map plays at the same time. And the Barca kills were very important to try to catch up a little bit on gold. They ended up being consequential in terms of most of the objectives, even though they did get this Herald and they're going to get the tier 1 in the mid lane. But it is not relevant for what Heretics are trying to do with their win conditions. The split push plan is still very much on the way.
And a quick reminder as well, in case we've forgotten the minigame from earlier, there is a lot of damage for Heretics to go around, even if they're, losing a little bit out on a gold funneling between the Drake for the Rift Tower. Okay, never mind, hold on.
Hades jumping on top of Jack Spectra, uses the Chains of Corruption, but it's cleansed beautifully from Deadly. The Heretics AD carry caught out. This is oversteps coming through time and time again from Heretics, and the gold lead that they've built for themselves in the early stages is not going to survive if you keep doing that.
Shutdown goes to the Wukong, who has actually got the lion's share of all the kills for Barca. So putting your stocks into the Monkey King is actually paying off fairly well. With Divine Sunderer, the potential Death Dance to be finished up as well. Hades can just 1v1 Jack Spectra. There's no Karma or anything of the like for Heretics to give a little bit of peel to the Varus, so he has to do that all on his own.
Oh, look at Jack Spectra's inventory, Rududas. We're going to have to hold that point for just a second. Top lane tower falls down in favor of Zwyru, but it's going to be a kill traded back. Another one going to Hades.
Hades ends up getting another kill, which isn't perfect, but yes, you were discussing Varus's inventory, and we do see a little bit of an amplifying tome right there. So we're going to see the Nashor's Tooth coming in, which is very, very helpful considering the damage share in his team and how hard it could be for Riot to deal damage to the Azir and the Ezreal.
Blue Result, do you win this? Ult's back away, but the Sand Soldiers are there in time. Fate Seal from Iber will pick up the kill in the end, but I've said it so many times, over-aggression from Heretics. Now Jack Spectra caught out the Chains of Corruption, will lock down the Karma, but that's not the threat. Finally, they spread to Deadly, they spread to the Ezreal, and the Varus gets out alive.
Yeah, and it's the very edge of the Varus range right there. It can be a little deceptive. You walk out of the circle and sometimes you still get caught. So Deadly, potentially in a little bit of a lax situation there, might have been able to find the kill had that not have tethered. But it's a escape for Jack Spectre this time round, not getting caught out for the second time unless...
Oh, Jack
Unless
Spectre.
he doesn't know. He doesn't know. Locked up and taken down. Gets the red buff, but then it's instantly over to Hades.
At least he gets the extra gold from the camp.
Plus 100.
Yeah, that wasn't the greatest positions to be in, and Ivo still needs to get out, and he doesn't have the third Q right now.
He's got his flash, but it's a 1v3 in the top lane, and Hades is so incredibly strong. This Wukong is taking over the game. Deadly, I don't know how you die there, but you do, buddy. This is getting messy.
This is getting extremely messy, and this is not good for Heretics specifically, because they were in control of the game. They were managing the pace so well, and now they're trying to look for stragglers and succeeding, but can they make this dive happen?
Flash rune prison 2 hours though with the soldiers up and flashes back away.
This.
Zvyro stopwatches to keep himself alive, but is still locked under the tower. Locks down the Azir, but doesn't get the kill. It's a +1 traded back 2 for 1 for Heretics in the bot lane.
Incredibly well played by 2 hours down on that bot side. We mentioned his Azir, his control mage play before game 1, and this is exactly why. Puts the turret up and manages to stall Heretics for long enough for both kills to go in their back pocket. 1, 5, and 2 for Zvyro is not the look, the performance that he would be wanting from the Rise in this game. And it starts off about as well as you could hope for. You get the flash route, but a beautifully timed Emperor's Divide knocks Blue Razor away, and it essentially makes it a 1v1 under the turret with somebody tanking at nefarious different times. It's a crucial fumble from the Heretics jungle mid duo.
And I don't think it even makes sense for them to try to look for those plays in that way. The moment they see the Sun Disc, they should be like, okay, we shouldn't have to risk it, because again, as I was stating before that even happened, Heretics should be in control of this game. They should be in control of the pace of the game, and it's them who are overforcing. It's them who are giving the opportunities for Barca to outplay them in these situations. They're giving away resources that they shouldn't be giving away. And yes, okay, they are way closer to the Mountain Soul than the enemy, the Hextech Soul, not the Mountain Soul, than the enemy is at this point. But it is still very dangerous because you don't auto-win those fights.
Flash and ultimate from Jack Spectre to keep his life, and yeah, 25 seconds until that Hextech Drake. This would be lovely if Heretics could pick it up, but it looks unlikely.
It's worth saying that by what we would deem the most important metric, the Heretics are somehow still in the lead. They have a gold lead over Barca, and that is, not indicative of how they've been playing. 13-6 shows you that it is actually Barca catching out these stragglers, but Heretics are always looking for something extra.
Oh no.
This is a perfect example. You see a slight commit on one side of the map, you commit to the other.
Yeah, Torres has the TP, but Deadly doesn't, and he's trying to kill a Drake. A Drake for a Baron? That's not a good trade. 23 minutes in, clean as you like from Heretics.
Heretics might still be fumbling their positioning again, as Ivo showcases what I was stating, but they are still playing the map better, and that is just a constant throughout all of their games, basically, in this Iberian Cup, and they get the Baron because they're very decisive. They know that they can play for that top side, and because Barca are playing cross-map, they don't respect how fast Heretics can actually make that Baron Nashor happen. And now, every pick that they've lost in the past few minutes has been kind of inconsequential, because they can just exert the pressure with this Baron and keep working towards that Hextech Soul, even though they lost this first dragon.
Hook goes wide, but it's not going to matter. Elelius is going to be locked up, but once again, Jack Spectre jumped onto by Hades. The shield poke keeps him alive for a millisecond longer, but here come the rest of Barca. It's tiki-taka stuff. It's the beautiful game as they are wiping Heretics in this fight. Ibo can do his damnedest. He could do his best, but it will not be enough. Ace for Barca.
And against the run of play, Baron goes the way of Heretics, but the ace goes the way of Barca. They did not expect to be able to find such an easy fight. It was handed to them by Whiting. They thought that they'd picked out Epheus. He's still alive. Don't ask me how, don't ask me why, but the Karma survives.
Yeah, like, the Karma just dodges the first hook, and I think that makes the entire difference. It does, because she would have definitely been dead, and the problem is, Jack Spectre can't really execute these fights in this manner, because he's playing the on-hit Varus, even though he has a little bit of AP. He needs to be somewhat close to to his opponents to actually deal his damage, and Barca are just not having any of that. They are splitting Heretics as a team. They are completely shutting down their team fight prowess. And now, finally, they're ahead in gold.
And what a difference from game one. It doesn't look like the same Barca at all. They're going for these proactive plays. They are punishing the mistakes, and it's working out. And for the first time in goddamn ages, it's Barca with the goal lead. And I think it's fair to say it's Barca that are in control of the game.
And it's Barca that deserve it as well. Yeah. Finding that 5v5 that goes their way, looking for these picks constantly. You know, we talked about the fact that kills so often don't mean everything, but they do mean a lot. And the fact that you're taking players off the board, you're removing the XP, the time that they can get those levels, you can see it just slowly mounting up to be a difference maker. Overall, with the levels largely the same, great flash.
Wow.
That is some damage, though.
Ibo lost half of his health with 2 hours dodging the ult. So that's how scary this Azir is at this point in time, because not only is he at 3 items with a Rabadon's death cap, of course, but the ornaments are coming out. Barca are just getting stronger and stronger by the minute, and Heretics just don't know how to force fights. They need to play for the side lanes. They aren't doing so. They're looking for picks when that is not what their team actually wants to do at this point in time, because there's no way Barca should actually get caught in these situations because of the Azir and the Ezreal that are so mobile, and they are very hard to catch in these situations, and they are just falling further and further behind because they overforce for too long.
Ibo. Okay. Not in trouble, as I thought that he may have been with Hades wrapping around. But you can see they don't even have a Baron here, Barca, and they're commanding the respect of this tier 2 turret. Zviru down on this bot side, level 16 has that advantage, and on this rise with a Void Staff versus the tank is actually going to be dealing a significant enough amount of damage. The question is, does his mana pool deplete before the Ornn's health bar?
And look at this mid lane. Heretics, they want to play for sides, right? But it's so difficult to do that with this mid lane tower still standing. You can't put up your vision as successfully as Dreedy. Once again, take it low in the bottom lane, but once again stays alive. Zviru will not rail wall out in time. And now, 2 hours, just one-shots him!
Zviru is completely wiped off the face of Summoner's Rift, and Barca are showing their dominance. Heretics can't play towards mid lane, they can't play towards sides, and you stated it, this mid lane turret is so important towards that playstyle. They haven't been able to take it. Will they be able to do it anytime soon? It doesn't seem like it. They aren't investing the proper resources into the proper sides of the map, even though this Rise is doing a lot of work.
And you can see that it turns out the Ornn health bar is the one that depletes first. Unfortunately, if your HP is above 0, you're able to fight. Dreedy capitalizes on that and interrupts. You have to take a second, because it is too much damage.
That's just absolutely disgusting. That's Azir at 3 items. It just doesn't matter who you are. You're going to get one shot if you get hit by literally everything. And now the Yone probably won't have as easy of a time into this Ornn, especially because he itemized into AD a little bit earlier with the Frozen Heart and that Warden's Mail. And because he's absorbing that pressure, Barca can actually make stuff happen in the other side of the map, collecting their second Hextech Drake, and it's just trouble all around.
Oh my word! Again, so much damage onto Zviru. This Azir has dominated the Rise at every stage of the game.
From the level to dive to everything in between.
Ibo dashing forward, but has to dash back out almost immediately. And now Hades with the Cyclone is a howling gale, removing Heretics top laner from the Rift. Both solo lanes down for at least 30 seconds.
And I was looking at that thinking, okay, we've just hit the big ticket item for Ibo. His Infinity Edge is online, but if you're not landing the knockups onto 2 hours, you're not going to kill him. He has been positioning so beautifully, whether he has flash or not putting himself in danger has been crucial. And he's always the one in position to take damage, or to not take damage, but pump it out instead. Blue Resort is here. Both solo laners have TP if Barca take long enough.
Heretics jungler can steal this one away. It would be big. It would rescue the game, which has fallen out of Heretics' hands. Here comes Viru on the flank. The Baron still low. The engage is being pulled, but Dreedy completely misses with the ultimate, and Deadly is dead! The Ornn can now be focused as Blue Resort buying a little bit more time. Dashes back away as Hades tries to catch him out, but Heretics realm warp away. 2 hours with a massive Emperor's Divide. So much damage. A double kill for the Azir. A triple kill for the Azir, and Barca can head back to the Baron. Ibo now dueling up with Hades. No, looking for a Vice on the backline. The Karma will be taken out, but the damage from the Azir is unreal. Bonked on the head. Another race for Barca.
Barca just so much stronger than the opposition at this point in the match. Jack Spectra, he stays alive for a long time. He gets a great Chains of Corruption into the pit, but it's just not enough. Blue Resort, you gotta do a miracle here.
Yeah, but he can't get over the wall, and that is Baron in favor of Barca.
Importantly, only 2 members have the Baron. Deadly wasn't alive in time to receive the buff, but equally as importantly, the person who's got it, or the people rather that have got it, are some total of 22 of the 25 kills that Barca have.
Yeah, that is way too much. In this fight, it was just expected to go Barca's way, just not in this way, because it just seems that Heretics have the perfect angle, but Jack Spectra just walks in and gets one shot. He's completely on the wrong side of this river. He tries to walk up to an Azir, and of course he gets punished in the process. Heretics need to play around their cooldowns, around their flank positions, because if they don't, the Azir completely destroys them in a front-to-back scenario. We've talked about the range since Champion Select, Rooted. You've talked about this Rise. It's completely unplayable in these situations, and apparently the Varus can't make up for it either.
Zonya's been picked up, Nash's Tooth has been picked up, but we've seen a double dip right here. He's got a little bit of AP, a little bit of on-hit, and neither one of the two are making enough of a difference in these fights. An engage comes through from Whiting, but it's not going to look too great. Call the Forge God, though, is a much bigger commitment from Barca, so Heretics have a little bit of a reprieve right now while that is going on, and while that cooldown is off. But Deadly, he had one fumble, got a little bit caught out, but he didn't lose the game for it, and now can party.
Oh, that was a fate still into the backline. As Vyro just dies, there's nothing he can do. The Emperor of Shurima is removed, but I'm not sure it's going to matter. That's already 3 kills going in favor of Barca. Ibo can dive forward as much as he likes, and the inhib tower will remain standing for the time being, but Heretics forced back to Fountain.
Even when the Azir dies, it doesn't matter. It's way too late. The entirety of the Heretics team is either just running away on one leg, or they are completely gone from Summoner's Rift, and Barca want to finish it here and now.
They are diving forward for the end. 4v2. Can Ibo make the miracle happen? Can Jack Spectra finally come good in this game? It doesn't look likely as the next tower number 1 is being focused down, and the Yone is dead. Now in a 1v3, it's not going to be possible, mate. The Arcane Shift 4 from Deadly, the Mystic shots as well. Barca come back in game 2 to even up the series.
One